My name is Ethan Rivers. I'm 37, a paramedic in Fort Worth. My life was alarm buzzers and heartbeats, keeping others alive, staying calm in the chaos. I never expected my own heart to drop before dawn in a suburban kitchen. My wife, Claire, was the kind of woman people described as warm light. Assistant principal at the local middle school, Sunday school teacher, choir leader. We built a life around purpose and meaning. Dogs, volunteering, Sunday dinner with her parents. I thought love needed depth. Wasn't this it? But 2 months ago, I noticed something breaking the mesh of her routines. Claire stopped singing in the kitchen. The candles on the mantel flickered only when guests were over. She started leaving earlier and earlier for meeting with a parent who needed extra time. Always alone. I asked. She said, just more paperwork. The district is cracking down. She didn't lie badly. But she did lie. It spiraled slowly. I noticed the lift receipts, small at first, $3 here, for their always and late hours. I asked again, evening errands? She'd flash her tired apologetic Claire smile and say, yeah, burnt a lot of candles, literally. Sorry, babe. My gut burned. I began tracking the receipts, times they didn't match her story. I created a quiet rhythm out of suspicion, checking apps, noting mileage, setting mental timelines against her calendar. I reasoned, if she was lying, I wouldn't confront her. Too dangerous. Too messy. I'd already known from work to collect evidence without drama, not to blow anything up until I'd partitioned it. So I did. Screenshot messages, saved ride requests, printed hotel match details, like matching puzzle pieces from her routine. The patch in the tapestry came from an unusual source, her flute. She loved playing. Almost every evening. Except recently. One morning, I found the case open but empty. No note, no celebration. Just vanished. I messaged her flute instructor, under a burner email, casually asking if she'd canceled lessons. He replied quickly, yes. Yesterday, she seemed distracted. Distraction, another code. I waited. 2 days later, I opened our shared photo app because I was looking for our anniversary dinner pictures. There it was, a photo she'd taken that I didn't remember, a mirror selfie at the Candlewood Suites lobby, her lips slightly open, her arms stretched out. Guest badge. I tapped the photo. Took a screenshot to my secret folder. I didn't confront her. I planned. Over the next week, I tested her stories. Asked if she needed help preparing events at school. Suggested we work together on her husbandly chores. She brushed off invitations with more distance than weariness. The mask was cracking. Here's the thing. She wasn't crude. No braggadocio. There was no tire smashing or midday rage. Instead, she was precise, delicate, a theft with surgical efficiency. She stole trust piece by piece. And I decided I'd return every penny. All in time. Because this wasn't an argument about infidelity. It was a turning point. She had fallen out of love while pretending everything was fine. And I was done collapsing. I didn't have a name yet. The man she was meeting at candlelit hotel rooms, midnights, and early morning coffee runs. Not in a ministry van. Not at the school parking lot. I only had receipts, dinners charged on her card at a Friday midnight bistro, and that mirrored smile in the lobby. My war wouldn't be loud. It'd be pinpointed, like a sniper waiting outside the window of truth. Claire's lies weren't reckless. They were rehearsed, delivered with the cadence of someone who'd practiced them in the mirror, like a sermon or a school announcement. But even the best scripts crack when the actor's eyes lose conviction. I saw it in her every morning now. The way she stirred her coffee but never drank it. The pauses before answering questions no one used to have to ask. So I started with her world, her job, her pride. Claire had worked a decade building her reputation at Roosevelt Middle. She was adored. Respected. A pillar, they said. She'd built an identity around stability, professionalism, devotion. So I picked at the thread she never thought I'd pull. Her calendar was synced to her home server, something I'd set up years ago. It updated every event she added. Parent-teacher meetings. Grant meetings. PDA sessions. One event on Thursday evening stood out. Titled simply Board Prep, Room 3B. At the same time, her Lyft history said she went to a wine bar across town, the Hemlock, known for its dark booths and no-questions atmosphere. I visited it the next night. Alone. Sat at the bar, ordered club soda. Waited. 10 minutes in, I saw him. Tall. Mid-40s. Hair gel just enough. Soft brown leather jacket. Wedding ring. He was sitting in a booth with his back to the door, classic amateur move. Claire came in, tucked her coat behind her like a show. Sat next to him. Not across. They didn't touch. But that was the tell. When it's new and wrong, people lean too close, laugh too loud. That same look she used to save for me on vacation, when no one from church could see. I didn't move. Just watched. Bartender said, "Want another?" "No," I replied. "Just needed the weather in here." He laughed. I didn't. I left before they did. I didn't want them to see me. Not yet. I went home and wrote down the time. Claire returned 2 hours later with a paper bag and a lie. "Linda's sick. Stayed to help her organize files." I nodded. She kissed my cheek. And I realized she wasn't kissing me. She was kissing the version of me she hoped hadn't caught up yet. The next step was strategic. At work, I pulled together some contacts, people I'd helped during medical calls, faculty members we'd transported, even a retired firefighter who'd once spoken at Claire's school. I drafted an email. Professional. Cordial. To whom it may concern, there's reason to believe one of your administrators has been conducting personal rendezvous during school hours and may be using district travel funds improperly. Please verify the following time slots and locations attached. This is not a legal notice, just a concern from someone who believes in accountability. No signature. No threats. Just times, receipts, and a single cell phone photo of her outside the Hemlock, timestamped, zipped in a folder titled Appearance versus Policy. I sent it to the anonymous tip line of the district's ethics board. I didn't want her fired. I wanted her exposed within the place she worshipped, the same building she had walked around like a queen. That Friday, she came home early. Said the office was tense, someone had triggered an internal audit. I said, "Weird week, huh?" She gave me a hollow smile. "Yeah, people are paranoid." And for the first time in months, I laughed. But softly. The kind of laugh that doesn't need anyone to hear it. Later that week, her best friend from work, Jessica, sent me a message. We hadn't talked much outside Christmas parties, but she was always observant. "Hey Ethan, don't want to overstep, but is everything okay with Claire? She's been distant. And the Hemlock? Doesn't really match board prep." I didn't answer, but I did mark her as a seed planted. I'd let her draw her own conclusions. And Claire? She started losing sleep, waking up in the middle of the night, checking her phone, whispering into it in the bathroom with the fan running. Whatever romance she thought she was chasing with Mr. Leatherjacket was crumbling, because when shame enters a room, even fantasy starts to sweat. I had the name now. Saw it on his LinkedIn after cross-referencing school board donors. Darren M. Ashcroft. Married. 2 kids. In town 4 days a week. Listed as a youth mentor on his law firm's site. A real paragon. I screenshotted everything. Then, just for fun, I sent one message to his wife's public charity email. Subject line: "If this man is mentoring your children, check the nights he disappears." Attached, a cropped photo of Darren and Claire clinking glasses over a candle. No need for more. No follow-up. The collapse would happen on its own. And me? I'd already begun redecorating the guest room. Because war isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the sound of her sleeping beside you, unaware that the battlefield isn't outside. It's her reflection. Claire always knew how to walk into a room like it belonged to her. Conferences, school events, brunches with uptight board members, she commanded space without having to raise her voice. People mistook that for grace. I used to mistake it for strength. But when you've watched someone lie to your face over oatmeal and coffee, that poise becomes theater. And all I could see now was stage makeup cracking under sweat. The fallout started at the district level. Quiet whispers. Unscheduled meetings. She came home 3 nights in a row claiming, "The board's just tightening up standards. Someone's been digging around." I asked, "What kind of digging?" She shrugged too quickly. "Some parents sent in screenshots." She said screenshots like it was a foreign word. That was my confirmation. Then came the conference. An annual district event, the place where Claire usually shined. She was set to lead 2 panels, speak at the welcome dinner, and present awards to 4 rising educators. I'd never missed one. But this year, she didn't invite me. I attended anyway, unannounced. I dressed clean, professional, sat near the back during her morning session, watched her stand at the podium in a navy blue dress she'd bought for our anniversary trip the year before, the one she canceled for a work emergency. Her voice didn't shake, but her eyes kept darting to the crowd, looking for someone. She never spotted me. At intermission, I left a sealed envelope on the moderator's table, addressed to the superintendent. Inside, a 4-page document containing Claire's travel card, expenses cross-checked with nights she claimed professional duties, a list of known board members at the Hemlock, and one internal district memo I'd obtained anonymously, one that alluded to her. Frequent off-site mentoring of external stakeholders. I printed a line at the bottom. If she taught your child, would this be the model you'd want? By dinner, Claire looked like a woman clinging to a burning lifeboat. Still smiling. Still making rounds. But her posture had changed. Stiffer. Like she was waiting for something to strike from above. That's when I sent Jessica, the friend from work, a photo. Just one. Claire and Darren. Outside a hotel entrance, her arm tucked through his. Him laughing. No caption. 10 minutes later, Claire's phone buzzed in her purse. Her expression froze. She stepped outside, took a call, and didn't come back for the rest of the dinner. At 11:13 p.m., she walked into our house. Didn't speak.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing experience, but we really need your support, namely a subscription to the channel, which can make it possible to hire a professional voice actor and make the best content for you.
Didn't take off her shoes. She stood in the hallway staring at me. Her voice was thin. You've been doing something. I said nothing. Her hands trembled. You went to the conference. I nodded. She stared like I'd broken some sacred law. You humiliated me. No, I said. I exposed you. There's a difference. Tears welled up. But not from guilt. From panic. You ruined my career. No, Claire. You did that the moment you decided hotel rooms with married men were worth more than your name. She walked into the kitchen like she needed air. I let her. Then dropped the final stone. I handed her a thick envelope. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside, divorce papers. But also a notarized timeline of her infidelity, school policy violations, and signed statements from 2 board members who were quietly distancing themselves from her ethical blind spots. She looked at me like I just ended her life. You planned this. For months, I said. Every night you said you were mentoring, I was documenting. She sat down. Slowly. I can't fix this. I know, I said. And I don't want you to. Silence. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she whispered. They never do, I said. That's the difference between damage and devastation. One happens by accident, the other by choice. She cried then. For real. But I didn't comfort her. Because those tears weren't for me. They were for everything she just lost. The image. The position. The illusion. The next morning, she didn't go to work. Didn't check her phone. Just stared out the window like the glass might answer for her sins. And me? I made eggs. Packed a weekend bag. Left a note that said. The silence was never punishment. It was mercy. You don't get it anymore. I locked the door behind me. And for the first time in a year, I didn't wonder where she was going. Because now, she had nowhere left to hide. I didn't run. That's the part most people get wrong about stories like this. They picture the betrayed one packing up and disappearing, trying to find himself at the bottom of a whiskey bottle or on a mountaintop with a new woman. I didn't vanish. I stayed. Because when you burn a house down, you don't flee. You watch it fall. Claire spent the next week walking through the ashes of her life like a ghost who didn't know she was already dead. She got suspended from the school pending internal investigation. They didn't fire her yet. Bureaucracies don't move fast, but reputations do. Parents started whispering. Jessica stopped texting her. Her inbox probably filled with questions she didn't have answers for, because every lie she told had a timestamp, and every timestamp had a witness. Darren? He disappeared. Left town for a sabbatical, according to his firm's site. His wife, who never responded to the email I sent, had wiped every trace of him from their public profiles. Funny how fast people forget the ones who soil the family name. Claire tried to maintain some sense of rhythm. She still lit candles at night. Still sat on the couch with a book she wasn't reading. I'd stop by the house only to pick up mail or grab clothes. We barely spoke. Once, she tried to say, we should talk. I said, we did. You just thought I was too kind to act on it. She looked down. Said nothing. 2 days later, I dropped off the final bank separation paperwork. Our accounts were now split. I left her the house. Part of me wanted to see her trapped in the room she corrupted. The other part just didn't want anything from a past that smelled like lies. I moved into a small duplex. 2 bedrooms. No shared walls. Quiet street. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. The silence there didn't feel like punishment. It felt earned. One night, I got a call from her father. He'd always liked me. Straightforward guy. Retired Air Force. The kind who values integrity more than charm. He said, Ethan, I won't pretend I know what happened. But I just want to say, I'm sorry. She wasn't raised for that. I told him, You don't owe me anything. He was quiet, then said, but she does. Click. The next morning, she left me a letter at the duplex. It was long, 8 pages, handwritten. I didn't open it. I burned it in the sink and rinsed the ashes down the drain. Because some words aren't apologies, they're auditions. And I wasn't buying tickets to her next performance. In the weeks that followed, I started to breathe like a man not worried about who his wife was texting. I started sleeping again, not drifting into unconsciousness, but actual, restful sleep. I joined a gym. Started running in the mornings before sunrise. No one waiting on me. No one checking when I'd be home. No expectation to show up anywhere except where I chose to be. Claire's world continued to shrink. Her suspension turned indefinite. Local papers caught wind. Not front page, but deep enough in the education section to be noticed. I know she read it. I imagine her hand shaking while doing it, realizing the article didn't mention her by name, but that everyone who mattered would still know. Because public collapse doesn't need headlines. It just needs familiarity. I heard she tried to meet with the superintendent. Didn't go well. He cited inconsistencies in conduct and misalignment of values with the district. That's code for, we're done, but we don't want to get sued. She called me once more. Blocked number. I let it ring. Then I got a voicemail. I don't know who I am anymore. I see it all now. I wish I had seen it then. I wish I had seen you. Delete. Because the truth is, I never disappeared from her life. She did. She left when she chose secrecy over honesty. She left when she stopped telling me the truth and started inventing new versions of herself to serve at the altar of validation. She didn't lose me when she got caught. She lost me the moment she believed I'd never be smart enough or brave enough to hold her accountable. That's what broke her. Not the exposure. Not the divorce. But the fact that I didn't explode. I evolved. She expected chaos. What she got was consequence. And me? I didn't need to destroy her. She did it all herself. I just gave her a mirror. You don't realize how much space someone takes up in your life until they're gone, and you stop navigating around their shadows. It had been nearly 3 months since the last voicemail. Claire had vanished from every corner of my reality. No more letters. No surprise appearances. Just silence, the kind she once used as a weapon but now received as a sentence. Meanwhile, I was learning to live without explaining myself. I went to the farmer's market on Saturdays. Took my time. No check-in texts. No timeline. Started reading again, too. Real books. Not articles or files or court updates. Just paper and ink and stillness. That's where I met her Paige. She ran a small antique booth at the market. Wore jeans and black t-shirts, her hair always in a braid down one shoulder. She had that dry wit that you don't notice until it stings you gently. She sold me a vintage wall clock I didn't need. Then 2 weeks later, a pair of old binoculars. When she handed them over, she smiled and said, "You keep buying things that see through time. Trying to rewind something?" I said, "No. I'm just learning how to see clearly." Her eyes lingered on mine longer than they had to. We got coffee. Not a date. Just 2 people sharing caffeine in silence that didn't need filling. She didn't ask about my past. Didn't prod. She just existed beside me in a way that didn't require performance. Eventually, I told her everything. Not all at once. Just enough to explain the pauses. The small ways I still flinched when my phone lit up. How I watched patterns in people like I was waiting for them to turn. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Sounds like she needed applause. And you gave her stillness." She mistook that for emptiness. That was the first time I felt seen in months. Not sympathized with. Understood. We kept things simple. We didn't define it. Didn't map it out. Some nights she'd come over, and we'd sit on the couch listening to old records she found at estate sales. She didn't care that my place wasn't polished. She liked the imperfection. Said it felt like honesty. I didn't call it love. Not yet. But it was something better than comfort. It was peace. And then one night, just as I thought I'd finally outrun all the echoes, Claire's name came back. Not from her. From a former neighbor, Heather, who ran into her at a community event. "She looks hollow," she said. "Like a balloon trying to stay inflated." I just nodded. Then Heather added, "She said she wanted to find you. Said she still dreams about you." I replied, "Let her." No anger. No cruelty. Just finality. Because closure isn't something they give you. It's something you earn when you finally stop hoping they'll understand. One night, Paige and I watched a storm roll in. Thunder cracked far off. Rain tapped on the roof like an old rhythm I'd forgotten. She asked, "What do you miss?" I said, "Nothing." She smiled. That's how I know it's real now. And that's what I'd been waiting for, not a replacement for the love I lost, but the proof that I'd stopped needing it to mean anything anymore. Claire had burned down a home we built together, but I walked away with something she never had: clarity. She'd chased admiration, performance, applause. I chased quiet. And in the quiet, I found something real. People talk about closure like it's a door that slams shut. Mine never did. It just quietly stopped opening. I never saw Claire again. Not in town. Not online. Not in parking lots, pretending coincidence. She faded into the background of a town she once thought she owned. And I let her. Because chasing closure means you're still chasing them. I'd stopped doing that. Months passed. Seasons shifted. I rebuilt not in dramatic swells, but in increments. Little things. I changed the locks on the old house. Not for safety, out of symbolism. I deleted our old shared streaming account. Donated the flannel shirts she once borrowed forever. Not bitter. Just finished. The final scar healed in an unexpected place. One afternoon, I walked through a used bookstore Paige loved. She was late meeting me, so I wandered to the nonfiction section, found a shelf of memoirs. I opened one at random. First line: some wounds don't bleed. They echo. I smiled. Because I no longer felt like an echo. I was solid. Present. Unapologetically here. Paige and I were still together. Still gentle. Still not defined by titles or timelines. She never once asked me, "Where is this going?" She just kept showing up. And that became the answer. One evening, I told her everything I'd never said out loud. The worst parts. The angry nights. The moments I almost became someone I'd hate. How close I came to sabotaging Claire publicly, far worse than what I actually did. Paige didn't flinch. She just took my hand and said, "You didn't ruin her. You restrained yourself." That's rarer than people admit. And that's when I realized. My revenge wasn't the damage. It was the restraint. Claire expected fire. She expected fury. She expected me to become the monster that would justify her betrayal. Instead, I became the mirror. Still, quiet, honest. And she shattered herself on the reflection. Not once in the last 6 months had I needed to raise my voice, humiliate her online, or weaponize her mistakes for applause. She did all the work herself. I just let the truth breathe. That was the most powerful thing I ever did. Not forgiving her, not forgetting her, but choosing to no longer require her pain to move forward. You reach a point where they could be in the next room, on their knees, sobbing, and you'd feel nothing but calm. That's freedom. That's how you know you're free. The final moment came one Friday night. Paige and I had dinner on the back porch. She brought wine. I grilled. The music was low. There was laughter, but no masks. She looked at me and said, "You're not who you were when we met." I said, "Thank God." Then she asked, "Do you think she regrets it?" I shrugged. Maybe. But regret's cheap. I deal in consequences. That was it. No long speech. No victory dance. Just acknowledgement that I wasn't the broken man she left. I was the one who didn't stay broken. Because the best revenge isn't in their pain. It's in your peace. It's waking up and realizing you don't think about them anymore, not out of denial, but because they simply no longer exist in the space you now inhabit. Claire burned her future for a fantasy. I walked away with mine intact. No fire. Just light.
What do you think of the story? Write in the comments.